for Northern Hemisphere occurring. The meeting happens in February, and then it is given to the pharmacological pharmacy companies for development of the vaccine, which takes about 4 to 6 months, and then it becomes available for the time when it is intended to be. And same happens for the Southern Hemisphere as well. There are areas of the world where we have a distinct seasonality, and there are areas where we have a year-round seasonality. India, being a northern hemispherical country, despite being in the geographical northern hemisphere, does not respect the seasonality that is typical of northern hemisphere. So it is mostly a southern hemispherical seasonality, or a low level all year through seasonality that we encounter. It is also important to know that since influenza virus has a property of having a change in its antigenic character, its molecular characterization gets changed by spontaneous mutations, which is called an antigenic drift or an antigenic shift, as a result of which we need to yearly do a surveillance all across the world. And there are national influenza centers, and they contribute to the repository of influenza viruses at the WHO, and then WHO finds out which is the most likely virus that is going to be circulating, and those strains are given to the vaccine manufacturers, and they come out with the most likely effective vaccine for that period.
Well, if you look at the vaccination programs in our country, they are divided basically into two groups. One is what the government gives to the vast majority of the population, and the other is a set of vaccines which is given according to recommendations by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics by private practitioners to their patients. So this is the general division of the vaccines. Now let's look at what the government is doing. Basically, the government's prime word.
The flu vaccine definitely reduces the risk of getting the infection. If a person gets the infection, it reduces the severity of the infection, and it's very clear that it reduces outcomes such as death, which is, one of the prime goals of our carers. Now, a person with lung disease, my area of specialization, with COPD, for example, already has lung damage. They already have reduced lung reserve. So a lot of people who come to me already have only 50% of their lung function left. So when they get an infection, they drop their breathing capacity, and two, they become susceptible to other bacterial infections. So that's what a virus does. It damages the lining of the inner lining of the lung, and then other bacteria which otherwise would not cause a problem start causing a problem. So they get a secondary bacterial infection. So what the flu vaccine does is it prevents them from getting the flu infection, and then reduces the severity of the flu infection. They recover faster, and they don't often go on to get the secondary bacterial infection. The same thing holds good in asthma also. But there's a third group in our country. TB is still quite a killer in our country. TB leaves a lot of lung damage behind, and we recognize that the COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is often thought to be due to smoking or due to exposure to other fumes, also can happen. A very similar condition happens after TB. These people already have lung damage, so they're very susceptible also for infections, and flu is one of the infections that they're very susceptible to.